taxpayers by removing that land and removing the tax base that goes with it. So what is your view on open space, and what do you think the purpose is? And I think we're going to Mr. Christy. We go with you first.
I've asked a lot of people, how much money has the county spent over the years in open space? I never get the same answer. I ask people, what is the purpose of open space? I never get the same answer. What do we have access to it? Does the public be able to be paid for it? Are we able to have any time on it or to look at it? And I never get the right answer. It is, in my estimation, at this point where we have more than enough open space to protect our wonderful environment that we all love here in Pima County. That's a huge asset, and as a businessman, you want your assets to work for you, and we want to promote our pristine environment, our high Sonoran desert, and all the wildlife and the flora and the fauna that go with it, and why we love it, and why we want to stay here, and why we encourage other people to go. But it comes to the point where it's disallowing and inhibiting private capital to come in and create a tax base where we can develop it, where we can utilize it, and we can have job growth, and we can have increased tax revenue, and we can have a high quality life. And there is a balance between protecting our environment and allowing economic development and residential development. And it's gotten to the point where if you don't follow certain guidelines or you don't follow certain trails as far as it comes to open space and the environment, you're vilified as a demon. And that's not the case when we need desperately jobs in Pima County. And the open space concept, I believe, has done more damage to the environment as far as the business community is concerned than anything else.
If you stop to think about it, 100% of our tax revenues come from 17% of our property taxes. What Mr. Becker said is correct. 83% of our land is owned by the government, not by private people like you and me. I believe that selling some of that land to increase our tax base and open up to the tax rolls is a good idea and definitely worth looking into. I also have been doing a little research and investigating because I've been at this for a year or so, and have come up with the fact that the county has approximately 4,500 vacant properties and parcels of land that are sitting there collecting dust. Why can't we sell those vacant properties, maybe even at a discount, take those revenues and the tax revenues and put it directly into a road fund? That was one of my road fund ideas.
As a Cub Master of PAC 328 here in Green Valley, I have a lot of respect for the environment and for those open spaces. I've spent many a trip with the young boys out in the wilderness, helping them grow and learn and become better adults, more giving and more productive adults. However, if with the policies that the county has now, since businesses don't want to come here, why not just turn all of it open? No, just kidding. Seriously though, we need open space. There needs to be a healthy balance, as has been said. But I don't see where the county needs to buy a plot of land in the middle of the city from a church at more than appraised value. I'm not going to take the Cub Scouts there. So let's get rid of the land that we don't have to have, help bring in more tax base, and still preserve the truly open land that makes us unique here in Pima County. Follow up?
Okay, Ms. Closen, we'll start with you. County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry's contract is up early next year. Would you support a new contract for him? Why or why not?
No, I would not. I believe our county over the last 22 years has been 20 years roughly, has been deteriorating, and I'm in the military. And have you all heard Harry Truman's saying, "The buck stops here"? He's the county administrator, and if this deterioration has occurred under his watch, then I think it's time for a new county administrator.
The simple answer is no. I think he should be dusting off the reservoir. To use a sports analogy, if you've got a sports team that's not performing, you change the coach, it doesn't mean the coach is a bad guy, or maybe he doesn't even know how to coach. Maybe he could go to another county and do a lot better. Let's give him that opportunity.
I thought that the Board of Supervisors was the coach.
No, we're the starting five.
I've heard rumors to the effect that Mr. Huckleberry is strongly considering retirement, and I would strongly encourage him to do so. That would be an opportunity to have a transparent, seamless, smooth transition for a new administrator where the community could be involved, we could pick and choose and vet our own candidates, where we wouldn't have the baggage behind it. I get started on the Board of Supervisors with a fresh, clean slate. It would be ideal if he took the high road and said, I've been 20 years, which is long enough, and I'm ready to retire. That would be the ideal situation. It would be a smooth transition with everybody involved in the replacement. However, if Mr. Huckleberry, for whatever reason, decides not to retire and his contract comes before me as a board member, I will vote to not renew his contract.
All right, so we talked about the RTA a little bit earlier, and I would say that at first I was a bit of a skeptic about the RTA, but it's turned out to be actually quite well run, and it's doing some really good things in the community. But it was only approved by the voters to last 20 years. We're about halfway through. We have 10 years left to go. So the question is, would you support, once again, referring to the voters as the supervisors? That's part of what we were able to do, is either refer bonds or other things like that. Would you consider referring to the voters a modification of that plan, which would include either extending it for an additional 10 years or 20 years, or increasing the half-cent sales tax to expand the projects and the portfolio that the RTA currently has and continue with the program, or would you support just letting it expire at the end of its 20-year period? I think we're going to Mr. Backer first.
Well, I think we would have to put some changes in. And again, to reference Supervisor Miller's plan, she's put on the table to extend it 10 years, to keep it still a half-cent sales tax, but to kind of shift the focus to repairing the roads, and not just the arterial roads, but also the neighborhood roads, and equitably divide up the revenue amongst the different cities and towns and counties based on their miles of roads, to where the roads can get fixed in a reasonable time frame, in the 20-year time frame.
As an individual who served on the original Citizens Advisory Committee for the Regional Transportation Authority, as someone who served on the Regional Transportation Authority for 5 years and chaired it, to answer your question directly, I would work to reauthorize the RTA. It is the best model we have for roads and construction of infrastructure improvements. It is a limited, narrow focus and mission, and there is no room for gamesmanship among the jurisdictions. And there is a distinct planning and budgeting process that have got over 700 projects on time and under budget. And they've kept their promises. I would work toward the reauthorization of it, and in this reauthorization, I would move that there would be a plan for maintenance. At that particular time, that would take voter approval to do that. I would work with all my effort as a supervisor to encourage that plan be reauthorized with maintenance in it. And at that particular time, because of the structure of the RTA, we can determine where our projects are as far as monetary funding and where they need to be, and how and where and under what circumstances financially we can include maintenance and where our priorities of maintenance are. That's the great thing about the regional plan, the Regional Transportation Authority. It's not dictated by any one singular jurisdiction. It's dictated by everybody in our region, and everybody gets a piece of the pie, and everybody has something to say about it. So I would, to answer your question, I would work for reauthorization, and at some point down the road, it would take a lot more than just public reauthorization to raise the tax. You have to get legislative approval of the Phoenix Board, which would be a difficult challenge. But there may come a time, with the will of the public, with the will of the community, they may see the value in increasing that tax to not only include maintenance of neighborhoods and thoroughfares, but to keep on the ongoing construction projects that are already in place.
Okay, I have a question. So step one is to just, you grant that it's working, the RTA is working, but step one would be kind of reconfigure and put some of that stuff to maintenance.
See, the RTA has distinct
Right.
chapters, if you will, of where their mission is. Maintenance is not.
So isn't that changing gears on voters then?
That is going
Who
to
10 years ago said we wanted to go for new projects.
correct, because the jurisdictions were supposed to provide the maintenance, and they haven't.
Okay, so, and then if there isn't enough money, then you would look at possibly raising the half-cent sales tax.
If that was in the same manner that the community would want, yes.
Okay.
My turn? Okay. The RTA has 10 years left. $1 billion in revenues are expected in a good year, a good 10 years. I believe I'm not gonna choose either one of your choices that you gave me. I'm gonna come up with another one, which is reauthorize the remaining 10 years of the RTA jurisdictional projects to help fix our roads. That's not going to be a quick fix. It requires RTA approval, it requires possibly state approval, and it requires voter approval again. So that's a possibility for a long-term fix for our roads. I do not think that the RTA should be in charge of an additional, okay, let's pretend we're done with the 10 years now, and people want to vote to have an additional sales tax for an additional 10 years. I believe that responsibility must remain with a responsible county leadership. I do not think that it should be put in the RTA hands. Not that the RTA hasn't done good things, they've done some very good things. And they can handle part of the maintenance if we reauthorize it for the existing projects they have now. But I believe that the main thrust of road maintenance and pavement preservation should be under county jurisdiction. Mainly because the RTA is going to require voter approval every, I don't know, would it be 10 years or 20 years? We have to come up with an election and push the RTA every time we want our roads approved. I think it should remain in county jurisdiction. If we're going to have a sales tax, it should be under the county.
So then you're saying reauthorize the RTA for the next 10 years, and would it all go toward maintenance?
No, a small percentage of it
Okay.
would go towards it because it's got projects in
Sure.
progress right now.
Okay, very good. 30 seconds for anybody to rebut.
Ms. Clausen said something about putting the road construction, the RTA commission back under the control of the county.
No,
The
no.
very reason why the RTA was formed was to get it out of the control of the county, and that it should stay out of the county's hands. And the Regional Transportation Authority is what it is regionally, not county, but regionally. They wanted to get it out of the jurisdiction's hands and into a regional entity, and to keep it from the control of the county government.
Yes, that's not quite correct. I was saying that the roads, maintenance, and pavement preservation should remain under county jurisdiction. I don't want to take anything away from the RTA, what they're doing now. They seem to be doing some decent work. Yeah, so why not continue with a good thing, right? I just don't think our overall big picture maintenance of roads should be under the RTA jurisdiction. It needs to be under the county leadership jurisdiction. And the reason our roads aren't getting done is because this 20-year leadership has not had the will to fix our roads.
Because I'm getting confused now. So, right now, as it stands, the RTA has been authorized for 20 years. Okay, so we have 10 years left to go. You don't have to approve for the next 10 years. It's approved already, okay?